Welcome to Coffee and a Conversation hosted by CJ Abernathy for South Dakota District 23 Senate 2020. A father, an activist, a Marine Corps combat veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan, Purple Heart recipient with a bachelor's degree in information technology software engineering. CJ is the executive producer for the Adam vs. the Man podcast with Adam Kokesh, and the CEO of Internet Warlords, the War for the Internet, as well as a former 2018 South Dakota Libertarian gubernatorial candidate, and a 2020 South Dakota delegate to the Libertarian National Convention. If you would like to join this broadcast, click the link in the description. Coffee and a Conversation starts now. Have a great day or don't. The choice is always yours.
I guess I should probably push the button there, huh? And make sure that it works. Let's see. There we go. Boom. That'll work. Forgot to add myself to the stream here this morning. What's up, everybody? It's your boy CJ, the Internet Warlord, coming to you live and loud from the great state of North Dakota. You know North Dakota. It's the state just south of North Dakota, the state north of Nebraska. Because we're just better than Nebraska. But I'm back. I'm getting into the swing of things. I didn't expect to tell anybody I was going live today. I didn't make a commercial for everybody to tune in today, and so I figured, just go live and show you guys where we're at from when I last was doing this grind every day, Monday through Friday. Corn season's officially over, so that's good to know. That's good to put that behind me this year and focus the rest of the year on the podcast and to really grow that out. As always, you can use the comments to communicate, or you can click the link. I didn't forget it today. There's a link in the description that you can push, and it'll bring you backstage, and you can join the broadcast. But I missed it a little bit, although I do enjoy driving. That's pretty much one of the funnest times of the year for me, to get out of the house and to, do something that I feel is noteworthy and accomplishing for the year. So. But, I thought, man, all right, well, obviously we'll make it an open discussion. Anybody can join. Thought that's first and foremost. But there's really not much news. Like, I can explain my news dilemma here pretty easily when you go down the scale of news. I mean, it's just dumb. More statist propaganda for everybody to consume. I mean, it's just dumb. This is a very dumb time to be alive. Most of us feel like, well, shit, civil war is about to happen. Now, I've been listening. I've been doing a lot of listening in the last month and plus, out there in the cornfields of North Dakota. And, I have a wild-ass conspiracy. I mean, a wild conspiracy. But before I get to my wild-ass conspiracy, again, just a reminder, anybody can click the link to join the broadcast. It's in the description. It was it's almost like there are certain individuals out here that are wanting civil war. Is that the politically correct term to use? They want to vicariously have that moment, or is it something else? Is it something deeper? And I think it's something bigger than that, and it has to be. Because the Democrats and Republicans are the same party. It's just, it really is. And I've told this to a few people Like, no, so you're voting for Trump, huh? No, so you're the right wing of the Socialist Party of America. Just testing out these lines, these little fillers, these kickers that we use to wake up the idiots that are continuously voting for their slavery. And so I used some of these lines this year in strategic and polite ways to say, no, well, you're voting for your own slavery. Cool. Mixed reactions, I would hate to think that there's a portion of the population large enough to bring us to the brink of civil war. Unfortunately, I mean, honestly, I don't see this country going any direction but, and it's not like the Civil War like you're thinking. It's not the sugared down version of the Civil War that happened in the 1800s. We're talking, this war is that's a political civil war. It's a political civil war in the aspect that both, and it's crazy because it's one party. There's one party with two warring factions causing this country to get driven to the brink of civil war. And you say this to your average everyday Republican voter, and they are so disconnected from what the actual political compass is doing right now that it's really hard for them to understand the consequences of their support ignorantly, And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that are not keen to politics. They don't really follow it as religiously as some. And they just kind of, well, my vote's in the voting booth, and then I go back to my job, and then I work my day, and I don't care. They still think that vote that they cast is going to somebody that is going to represent them, which again is the definition of ignorance. I don't understand how a person making under $50,000 can think that their vote for a billionaire that is bailing out corporation after corporation is actually helping them. I really don't. But when you use you're just the right-wing side of the Socialist Party of America, and you and the Democrats are the same party, it's weird. It's weird. It's almost like football. Like, I mean, again, I haven't watched football in a while, and not due to Colin Kaepernick. I hate how I got to preface this. I stopped watching football because, well, it was just a distraction. And, it had nothing to do with Colin Kaepernick. But anyways, that all aside, the NFL has the AFC and the NFC. Okay, they're still the NFL. They're just two conferences. And the states are like in their own leagues or in their own regions, their own conferences, their own, they're divvied up no differently than football. Still the NFL. It's still the Socialist Party of America. You're just I'll use the guns of government to implement my policies and agenda this way, and the other side just doesn't agree with you. That's literally what it is. It's we will use violence of government against you differently than they will. And so when you realize this fact, when you realize it, and you realize, like, for example, social media, it's fake. I watched The Social Dilemma only because Adam has been harping on it, and then I found it to be interesting but not groundbreaking. I kind of knew most of that stuff they were saying, but another good one was the hack, the Great Hack or something on Netflix there, that really just opens it up to how they rigged the election in 2016. And you know, I'm going to say this with confidence that the way that they rigged it in 2016, and they almost should be allowed to get away with it for 2016, for sure. But what they did is they took a few useful idiots in a few swing states and some in, you know, states where they wanted to put up a battle in the future. And they basically found you on social media and pushed you to the moon. There are some famous people on social media today that the only reason why they're famous is because they were considered a useful idiot and an influence in swing areas that could impact local elections. And it's insane. You hear that and you go, but I really like that guy. Oh, well, that guy was specifically selected because they knew they could use him politically. I really like that guy, you say. Yeah, well, so did they. So, and of course, we can silence dissent with Facebook. So it's pretty easy to manipulate the data when it comes to rigging elections, you know. I know it's hard to keep people's attention. People have attention spans that can only be measured in nanoseconds. That when you realize this fact, then and you realize how they've implemented their game plan, their strategy, it's almost beautiful. I don't believe we're ever going to have a fair election again in the history of our country. I don't believe that we're ever going to have a third-party president in our lifetimes, even though I am a third-party candidate and a third-party supporter, third-party voter, registered, unless, again, the powers that be dictate it. You know, those same useful idiots from 2016 might not be the same useful idiots in 2020, especially if you switch sides, especially if you become critical, especially if you become more open-minded to how politics is using you instead of, you know, you governing over politic. And you know, Facebook, it says they say Facebook, YouTube, and all this is designed to make you feel alone, designed to make you feel like you need it in order to have worth in this life, that your views, your clicks, the time spent watching your content is essentially your value, is essentially your worth. And it blows my mind. But when you become a free thinker, when you become somebody that wants to go, hey, I don't want to vote for this same paradigm anymore, it's amazing the instrumentation and the tools used to essentially make you seem like your vote, your opinion is a lesser opinion and a lesser vote, even though it's been made, you know, soundly, you know, with research and comprehension of both platform and policy, and not just politic and propaganda. So with that being said, you know, it's easy to see where people can get caught up in the pageantry and the beautiful illusion that is our current state of politics. So, but with that being said, I do have somebody backstage, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, from New York, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Mike Gilligan. Good morning, sir. How are you today?
Good morning, CJ. How are you?
I'm good. I'm liking the beard. I'm liking it. You growing it out?
I'm growing it out.
Yes. All right. All right. Good. I think you're going to look distinguished. You're going to look like a man of many wisdoms.
Not really. I do the best I can. I was wondering if I could discuss something with you this morning.
Absolutely, Mike. What do you got for us?
I'm in a position right now where I'm feeling disappointed and a little angry too. I used to belong to this group called Americans for Legal Reform. I bowed out a month ago, and things on my mind that to a group that I'm very grateful to, that helped me out during my time when I was going through my problems in family court and Supreme Court, and I got a lot of support from these people: Gary Jacobs, Carl Lanzazera, the founders of the group. I had to make a hardcore decision because I find myself changing my opinions about, the direction where the group is going, and primarily because of it's no more about legal reform; it's more about legal cooperation and compromise. Tomorrow night they're having a meeting, and the speaker to the meeting is a man by the name of Jeffrey Arlen Spinner, and he's a former family courts judge, and it happens to be the same judge that signed the papers to my temporary order of protection, and that I went up against in 2016. And this guy's going to be speaking tomorrow night before the group, and part of the reason why I've decided to just separate myself from the group, because I don't believe it's about reform anymore.
You believe it's about compromising, it's about compliance,
it's about cooperation, and it's kind of I feel I have a lot of feelings about it that drive me kind of batshit crazy. The bottom line is that the description for the meeting tomorrow night, puts Jeffrey Arlen Spinner as a friend of Americans for Legal Reform. He's a new friend, and an unlikely friendship, I think, it starts off saying, and that now he's now a friend of Americans for Legal Reform. And the only reason why he's a friend of Americans for Legal Reform is because he got jammed up in his position as a judge because he found himself in the middle of a divorce. And isn't
that funny how that works, Mike?
They booted him off the bench because of domestic problems. And this is the same guy that in his when I went before him for arraignment, my ignorant ex-wife, filed a bogus complaint to get an order of protection against me, basically saying that on two separate dates back in 2016 in September and August, I showed up on stipulated time, according to my stipulation agreement, to see my sons. And she indicated that she had fear of two notes that I left on the door that were not threatening at all. That basically, one was to my sons, telling them that I loved them and let's get together for lunch, Oh,
so threatening.
No.
So threatening, Mike.
Yeah. So he signs this order of protection based on her feelings of she's afraid. There's something wrong with me, and I'm there on stipulated time. When I'm lawfully supposed to be there. I actually filed reports with the Suffolk County Police Department to in violation of my agreement. But anyway, I go to court with this, and on my arraignment, as I remember, I didn't even get a chance to say anything. I introduced myself and I said my address. I'm present before the court, and this guy is right away. He enters a plea on my behalf, and I go, pleading to what? I wasn't as
entering a plea on your behalf with your consent.
No, he did it without even asking me. He never asked me straight out how I want to plea, and I didn't think a plea was necessary because the complaint was so in violation of my civil rights, and he just was looking to control me and control the situation. And you know how the things go in family court. It's all about incentive and money, and all that Title IV stuff. And Well, for 8 months, I was kept away from my kids, but during that time, I challenged the court, and basically, and I pissed this guy off. I challenged him. How dare you do? How dare that the beneficiary of a constitution of a state and the nation comes before him and challenges his authority. You know what I mean? And I wasn't afraid to do it. I was at the point in my life where I got nothing to lose. I really had nothing to lose, and I made the court know that I had nothing to lose. And here I got, all the players in the courtroom. You got the attorney on the other side. There must have been about 3 or 4 armed court officers in the room. And this guy, when I started challenging him, you should have seen the way he looked at me. If he had daggers in his eyes, they would have popped out of his head to strike me in the chest.
Wow.
And how dare I even speak back to him? You know what I mean? And because basically they like to treat us like wards of the court. We're ignorant and stupid. Well, anyway, I went through, 8 months of this thing, and I was an avid listener to this guy Rick W. on YouTube, and I was writing my own pleas. I had filed an order of show cause to have it dismissed because there was no evidence of any threat, damage, or loss, or potential threat, damage, or loss. All it was a dad looking to see his kids, or have his kids have their dad for the day, and be a co-parent. Well, anyway, this guy answers my order to show cause, and I don't have it with me at the moment, but it basically said that I was a buffoon. I got no business being before him. He never gave me any specific reason as to the proper cause for me to be there. It was all because I was not effective. I was spouting nonsense. I don't have the sophistication to articulate the proper reasons to have the case dismissed. And basically what happens is that they play games with me. They want to go to trial, and I push it. I eventually do this thing called a writ of quo warranto, which basically challenges the court. And a quo warranto is written as basically I'm asking the court, where does he get the authority to violate my rights without giving me a lawful reason? And just telling me that I'm basically a buffoon or a ward, not able to defend myself because I had the nerve to come in without a bar member attorney. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing that what really blows my mind is that there's 2 systems of justice, one that you can attempt to pay for and one you can attempt to fight yourself. And the success rates vary dramatically with having that bar attorney versus not. And, one of the things that blows my mind is that they know this already. So do you think that this just further goes to prove that they're aware of a racket, that they're aware that
there's no doubt in my mind that there's a racket going on, and it's all about, I always indicate, it's all about control and separating us from our property, and that includes our children.
Yeah, you've made it clear that that's the way that the court perceives it. That there's a lot of people that say that this sounds like sovereign citizen talk when you think that children are property. I challenge that on the court treats children like their property, and that they are to be like a possession that is to be won in a battle inside of a legal arena. And it's the court that perpetuates that. It's not people. People have kids. They want to raise their kids. It's not about property. That's a life they want to be involved in. And the court says, unless you jump through every legal hoop that we can throw in front of you, we can use your children as it's almost like the fact that you register your vehicle. The government can take your vehicle anytime they want through civil asset forfeitures, and they do the same thing to your children. So it blows my mind how, like in this case, through a group that you've been, working with and being a part of, that they would bring on somebody into their sphere of influence that has 100% documented impacted your life the way it has, And I would think that I met Mr. Jacobs. He's not as cavalier with trying to do something in that kind of shadiness, but
well, I don't think it's shadiness. I think it's political.
And even if it was, even if it would be political, I don't think that he's of that character to do that to you with intention. So I'm kind of curious as to why bring on a judge, especially a judge that is personally responsible for your torment, somebody that he has worked with in the past, that he, has rallied with. I mean, it blows my mind how.
Well, there's more to the story. This judge winds up recusing himself in December of 2016 from my case because the writ of quo warranto wasn't replied to, and the fact of the matter is that they played the games of a couple of times I had to show up in court, and one time it was the law guardian that was sick, the next time it was him that was sick, and they never answered my quo warranto, and basically he recuses himself.
Imagine if Adam versus the Man, the show I produce, and Adam comes to me and says, "Hey, CJ, you know that judge that ruined your life? We're going to make him a commentator on this show Monday through Friday." I'd probably be like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Well, I was very disappointed to see that. But, last month they had a speaker. It was supposed to be Cash Jackson. And Cash, I was looking forward to that. And then something happened with Cash. He couldn't make it to New York. It's quite, he was in New York this weekend, but he didn't last month. He couldn't make it, and so instead he replaced the guy with a lawyer to speak to the group. This guy is in Suffolk County. He was not a bad person. I have nothing against him, but I just thought that what's it with the lawyers? Why are we listening to them? And especially when you had guys like me who've never spoken before the group before, who have experience in court, who has a story to tell, and express his experience in there. And I'm not the only one. There are a few guys in there that could have taken Cash's place, especially when talking about parental alienation, which I believe I have a clear-cut experience.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure you're an expert in that field, in that conversation.
It kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And and I care about Gary Jacobs. He's a friend. I'm not.
That's what I'm saying. This is a surprising move for somebody like Gary.
But Americans for Legal Reform has their own reasons, and what they are, I can't specifically speak to. But it sounds like it's more about now, hooking up with the lawyers for legal cooperation rather than reform. And the bottom line is that now they got this guy speaking tomorrow night, and this is a guy that basically dissed me really bad. And
how many days would you directly say as a result of his incompetence did you spend away from your children?
Well, I was forced for 7 months.
At least 8 months of your life and your children's life, you can account directly to this man's incompetence.
Yeah. And it wound up that it got referred to another judge, and we had a trial, and I won.
Which causes more problems, delays and tactics in that aspect. So 8 months.
Well, basically, they knew they had no reason to actually put that temporary order forward. I had my Supreme Court judge who read the complaint during a conference that I was in court for, even indicate that openly.
Wow.
The law guardian, what's this all about? This is nonsense.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is that it upsets me that, we're going to defer to this guy. This guy's going to speak tomorrow. Now, all of a sudden, because he got jammed up in his own profession, and now he's in private practice. And let me just say this. I had a conversation with this guy at a cigar night that Gary had for ALR at his home. And the day of this event, the cigar event, I was getting texts and from Gary Jacobs to, they were very concerned about me. I would confront them in a negative way, that what they still thought would be a negative way or an angry way, and because I get labeled as being angry, and I don't understand why more people aren't. And
did you rip your clothes off, and did you turn green, and did your veins start popping out of your body?
it could get that way with a guy like this, you know. And I honored I honored Gary's home, and you know, because it's at his house. And I wound up confronting this guy, and we have a conversation. He talks to me. And he wasn't really sure who I was at first until I said Rita Corwarento, and then he goes, "Oh, that was you?"
Oh no, he doesn't even remember you.
Well, he does. He did after that, and he basically told me that everybody was worried about my paperwork, and they wanted me to stop putting in my own paperwork because I was challenging a court the way that, you know, these bar member attorneys aren't going to do, and you know, that because it's all about cooperating with the system in the
Compliance,
in the best interest of the state as opposed to the children. But I don't know what this guy could offer tomorrow night to anybody. You know, and now he's a friend of Americans for Legal Reform, and I have a problem with that. I have a problem. He's not my friend.
Well, how many cases do you think he's done? How many children's lives and adults' lives has that man affected from the bench? And now that it happens to him, it's like, well, I'm going to go over to the group that has been causing me headaches. I mean, you came from that group. You came from a group of activists and reformists and advocates that are definitely known in that area enough for him to take notice. And so when it seemed convenient for him to go through this, it looked like he was trying to get onto the ship and not sink like the rest of the people that go through this. So
this guy's a tyrant. And now because he doesn't have, you know, men with uniforms and weapons around him to protect his ass,
his qualified immunity's out the door.
Yeah, well, and I think pretty much during the time I was with him, that's why he recused himself, because I was challenging that immunity, and because he really had no prima facie evidence to indicate that I was some kind of threat or danger to anybody, and that's why he recused.
Well, here's the crazy part though, is here he is out in public with you. If you're such a big threat, you'd think that there would be law enforcement. He'd be making a stink. You'd think that he'd be letting everybody know you're a danger. Did he treat you in any such way outside of that?
No. We had a very civil conversation,
he gave you respect and dignity.
He did. Oh, he did.
But he couldn't give that to you in the courtroom.
Oh no, they can never do that in the courtroom because I don't understand how you could listen to a guy that for years was violating the parents' right, and when it comes to the children in other areas, and including money, and then all of a sudden now you're in private practice and you're a good guy, and now you're a good friend of Americans for Legal Reform.
He caused people to lose their children. He facilitated proceedings that were unconstitutional. I mean, he ruined the lives of countless people, and you're gonna just walk him in and say, "Here, speak to our group, like you're one of us now." Yeah,
and they even have a picture of him. If you go online and you see it, there's a picture of him with his robes on, for this event, and it's funny because we're supposed to look at him now with some kind of great esteem, and this is a guy that I don't understand how people could just accept anything that comes out of this guy's mouth. And and part of my thing, last week when they had this other lawyer speak, Gary got up and addressed what I had done, because I put a post up in American Reform about how I felt, and I actively walked away from the group. And Gary's position is that we have to support the good lawyers, and that makes me laugh.
Oh God, it's so cringe.
Because there is no such thing as a good lawyer in this system, in this fraud system that we have. Any lawyer that is not a good lawyer. It's like what Edmund Burke said. When Edmund Burke said, he said that the one thing that is necessary for evil to occur is for good men to do nothing. And this guy is now a good guy, and he did nothing for many years.
And that's what's blowing my mind. I'm scrolling through trying to find the legal reform here, the picture. I'm not finding him on this page here. It says the Americans for Legal Reform original page, and then there's another page that's got nothing on it.
Yeah, well, you'll see it. It's the event page. It's actually the event page.
Oh, it's in an event page. Okay, events. Ah, this guy. Okay.
And
so there's your tormentor, huh?
That's the guy.
Yeah. So what they say is don't view this as a guy that abused you, Mike, for years on end.
Read the description.
Let's see, where is this at? Am I missing it?
It's hit more or something like that. Description or
events, discussions, hosting, events. Nope, that ain't it.
Go back again. Hit the link there. Hit that.
Okay.
Now it should be in there somewhere. Hit discussion.
Discussion. Is this it?
Oh, I don't know.
1986 clerk for the law firm, then worked at this law firm and then that law firm, small claims arbiter in this county. Yeah, no, I'm seeing his credentials. It's just a career of being used by the state to violate the rights of parents and take and subdue the Constitution under ruling from the bench. And I mean, yeah, Gary Jacobs, if you're listening to this, man, I'm actually really disappointed in this action. I actually feel like you're letting the fox into the hen house, and you're letting, especially this specifically close to somebody that supported the group, to bring on the judge of somebody that for at least 8 months, if not longer, affected this man's life that you've called friend and advocate.
Now, let me be clear about this. During that whole period of time, I got tremendous support from this group, Gary and other men and women from this group.
Do they want you to let bygones be bygones then? I mean,
they pretty much would like that, yeah.
I mean, at some point you have to come to they'd have to come to the conclusion, they, not you, would have to come to the conclusion, this is a man that took at least accountable 8+ months of your life from you and your children and could have done the right thing and didn't. And now you're giving them the platform of which you've voiced your case and your concern and to treat him with that. I don't want to say it's almost like they're saying, look at his credentials. He's qualified to speak on this, but he's only coming out because it happened to him too now. He's going through the process. He's been taken from it. And keeping in mind that you're just one vocal voice, all the cases out of the years that he's been involved in, you're going to have to tell me that he's innocent in this, that this isn't his karmic, karma coming back to him, that this isn't him being, put into the same system that he himself has helped perpetuate. And then he wants you. Man, I'm all about this. My judge, the judge that in my case that ordered what he did, could die tomorrow and I'd find out where his grave is and piss on it. I'm never going to be cordial with the man. I'm never going to be the fact that you even had a conversation with him nicely is about 10-fold more than I would ever do.
Believe me, I was tempted during the whole time there. And believe me, when I say that whole day before the event, I was being bombarded by Gary to keep it civil. He was so worried about me. Going after.
That's a sign that he's doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, I was trying to be supportive, of the group, but I'm finding that the group now, and it's not really a group. It's not really a group, Gary and the founder, they set the tone of what's going to come forward. The group never gets to vote on anything. There's a couple of guys they nominate as contributors to the, decision making of the group, but
So they've
guys,
consolidated power to control the group.
yeah, it's you know what I mean, and it's become political, and it's about cooperation. You know?
Again, nice guys. Met them in D.C. Liked what they had to say about a lot of things. It goes to show that people have agendas. People have an ulterior motive for bringing somebody in. At the detriment of one of their longest supporters. I think it's like I said. I'm not saying Gary's a bad guy by no stretch of the imagination. I'm just saying that this seems like a very blatant move, a very blatant, easy to see through move that's been made here by them. And to say that, would I listen to the guy speak? Probably, just to get an understanding from, why all of a sudden now is this important for him to speak out about. Kind of like a keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer type thing. But really hash it out. Like if it was me and I was in a group with the guy that abused my constitutional rights, I've already said this. If one hair on my child's head is harmed, everybody involved better run for their life. Everybody involved in that decision-making process. So I can't imagine the composure, the strength, and the willpower it took for you to be the better person.
You want me to read the description?
Yeah, if you got it, for sure.
Yeah, so this is what it says. It says, an unlikely friendship. ALR President Gary Jacobs and Judge Spinner butted heads for years, but one day they sat and spoke and have since become great friends. Gary has a tremendous respect for Judge Spinner and his intellect and insight. Judge Spinner has a unique perspective on the system as he was on both sides of the bench. Now in private practice after serving his term as a judge, Judge Spinner is able to be more candid. This is one you don't want to miss. As of now, we are planning to meet at the usual auditorium in Bethpage where there are plenty of room and social distancing, but the library may not be open. If not, it'll be at a different location. It'll be on Facebook Live. But to say that he's a friend,
that he has wisdom beyond his years.
He has wisdom, and he's going to be candid. Now all of a sudden he's like, what is he, a born again? And and it's an unlikely friendship. I'm like, how often do these guys get together now? Is there a plan? Is there a plan that the membership of Americans for Legal Reform don't know about, that this guy's now going to be, looking to uphold the civil rights of litigants that come before other family court judges? He's going to rail against the system. I doubt it.
What he needs to do, in my opinion, find out who he's wronged. Because if you're a judge, you're going to have people like this that are.
I'm not the only guy in the group he went before.
I get that. So that's what I'm saying. So
there's other guys that went before.
Right. So what I'm saying is that knowing that this is what's going to happen is that you're just the first one to speak out publicly, Mike. That's all it is.
They know how I feel. They know, I don't have to. They know without me speaking words. They know how I feel.
I would hope so.
I was in a room with this guy. Hey, listen, the guy deserves a smack.
No. You're being nice. I think he should be hung from his neck until dead in public, personally speaking. But that's my opinion. So at least that we understand publicly that there's a middle ground here between death and discussion. And one of the things that a smack is the least that in my opinion, because again, you're just the first to speak out. So what happens when you go to putting together an event that says, okay, if you've been affected by this, judge, reach out to me, and now you got 30 people?
Well, Gary has done that before with the guy. He's done that with his Long Island backstory. He's done this before. There are plenty of people that have come forward. Plenty.
So he's interviewed people that have been fucked over by this judge, and he knows that this judge is part of the problem. And now again, this judge comes forward. I would wonder if there's been money involved.
Well, hey, listen, it's all about. Hey, listen, it's not about legal reform anymore, and that's the other issue. I've discovered that I've become more of a liberty-based individual. And you talk about politics and stuff like that. I am a registered libertarian now. I believe in individual rights. I believe that they're God-given, and I believe that
self-ownership. Amen.
I believe, part of their reasoning with me is that, Gary will say to me, well, Mike, not everybody can go pro se like you. And so that means that, we should just defer now to the so-called good attorneys, which I tell you, there are no good attorneys. There are just attorneys in a system that is like trying to swim in a cesspool. You know what I mean? There's just shit and piss everywhere.
Do you think, and Mike, I mean, do you think that there are attorneys out there that genuinely go into this thinking that they're going to help people?
I think, listen, let's say this. There are people that become attorneys and they're good people. They have ideas when they get into this profession, they're going to help people. A lot of attorneys that get into the family law, they leave after a while. But, the ones that are not as empathetic as some others are, don't have a problem taking your money for $250 to $500 an hour to cut and paste fucking pleadings, on your behalf and charge you astronomical amount of money. And that's really all it's all about. That's all it's all about. And then we go into family court where they work with the magistrates who set the child support for the best interest of the state. And that is the crux of it. And, Gary would say to me, he says, oh, we have to have some good attorneys involved with the group so we could, if we need to refer anybody, we could use these good attorneys. And there is no such thing as a good attorney. I'm sorry, just there isn't. Edmund Burke was right. These are men and women who are supposedly good that do absolutely nothing to protect your rights. Absolutely.
Mike, have you ever met Chris Cole, Victims of Family Law?
Yeah, I've seen him with Cash Jackson. I've heard him.
Yeah, I mean he's watching now. He's somebody that I would ask you to reach out to too, as well as Cash. I mean, this is one of those.
I don't. You know what I mean? I appreciate that. I'd be more than happy to speak to them. I don't need any help with this.
I know you don't, Mike.
I'm saying the work already. I have my kids. I because of what I did, I have my children.
Yes, that's what Mike.
My oldest son.
Yeah.
And I have a relationship with my youngest son, not the way I want to. There's alienation involved, but I'm working on that.
Yeah, but I'm not saying it as like he's going to help you. I'm saying it as he has a broadcast where he does interviews and things like that. And I think that your wisdom and your knowledge would also be very much a great, part to add to his page, to what he is pushing forward. He just recently met with the Libertarian nominee for vice president here recently, and hopefully he's got his faith renewed in their message about family law and the solutions there. But I'd love to hear you and him have a conversation on Victims of Family Law about this.
I'm pretty much a radical about this.
I know you are.
This is about individual rights and liberty.
Yes, sir.
And the source of that is from us, from you.
Yes, sir.
To have somebody else come into court for you to do what you want is not going to work. You have to go before the court in what I term pro se. And this is, I get into this with the Americans for Legal Reform, because there's pro se and pro per. Pro se means that I'm representing myself as an attorney. Pro per indicates that I'm a man before the court and I'm not an attorney. You never want to indicate that you're some kind of a lawful expert. You know what I mean? And the court is all about intimidation. I went through it with another family court judge, Chris Ann Kelly. After when my ex took my kids to Florida and I had to get them back, she forced an attorney on me and indicated it was going to be an advisor. And then when I went to meet the attorney, he says, no, I'm representing you. It's a scam. The bottom line is that they don't want to hear your voice on the record, because when you stand before them and you say, and I said this to the court, listen, I'm standing on the Constitution of the state of New York and of the nation. And the bottom line is that they can't have you say that, because they speak it and then subsequently act outside it in order to violate your rights, so that they could get the Title IV funding. They could set you up with income withholding orders, which I have, which is a fraud that's not signed by a judge, and I have a copy of it.
All right.
It's about, the bottom line is that it's all about control and separating you from your property. And the only way we get that back is when the individual goes before the court and asserts their rights. And that's the problem in America today, the ignorance of our God-given rights and how to assert them in the courtroom. And I guess, and I don't have a problem being the fool. Anybody who represents himself has himself a fool as an attorney. Well, I guess I'm a fool. And they've said everything to me. I'm not sophisticated enough. I'm not intelligent enough. You can't do that. And even when I tell them I submitted my own discovery request, I submitted my own paperwork, they do whatever they can to intimidate through their authority. And let's get this straight too. They're not your boss. They don't govern you. And you have to say things that are a bit radical. I openly said in court, if something happens to my kids during this time I don't see them, or while they're in Florida, I'm going to come after people.
Yeah.
Then I paused. Yeah, my son's trying to call me.
Well, there you go. See, now there used to be a day where you'd beg for that.
Yeah. Well, we started a business together, and we have a job this afternoon.
Amazing how that time in life works itself out like that, Mike. But then again, I think that's why, again, you make yourself available as somebody that's an expert in this subject, because you have gone through it. You're not a buffoon for representing yourself. You're a father that wanted to be a father, and you're thrown into a system where it's designed to be unconstitutional. It's designed to be monetarily driven. It's designed to use every little minute detail of your personality against you, not for you. And it blows my mind how, again, we get away with it. But I got a question for you before you hop off here, Mike. Do you think that this is a federal issue? And what would you say to somebody who does not believe that this is a federal issue? They believe it's
a federal issue on what grounds?
No, do you believe that family law and the problems of family law are a federal issue?
You're going to get the same there that you would in any other court. It's the same nonsense. It'll be intimidation and stuff until people make a decision for themselves. And that's the whole thing. It's even with the politics of things. It's all about, feelings, and we're always deferring. We always want somebody else to do it for us. And a lot of people come to Americans for Legal Reform because they want somebody else to help them and do it for them, because they don't want to do it themselves. And
the risk, Mike, is your children and your future. I mean,
yeah, but you want to know what? Listen, I took the risk, and I was somewhat successful, and I have my kids in my life because I wouldn't take no shit. And maybe that's the cop in me. I was I was a policeman for 24 years with the NYPD. Right. I know how to assert my voice, and they didn't like that. They don't like that, and that's what you have to do. And but Americans for Legal Reform wants to be there for the people who can't, and I get it. And we should be there. We should court watch and stuff like that. But I'm going to tell you, and even now I know this. You go to all the rallies you want, all the rallies you want, and I'm telling you, as a policeman who was on the other side of the barrier at these things, they don't work. Because I can tell you what they're saying on the police side of the fence. They're saying, yeah, let them have what they say, do what they want tomorrow, forget about it. It's just like these rallies you see now.
They'll be gone tomorrow. Don't worry.
It's all about emotion. It's not about data and facts.
Yeah.
It's about the emotion, and it's all.
I think they serve a purpose. I think they can serve a purpose in a greater good, but I ultimately agree with you that they're on the totem pole of making an impact. They are slim to none.
Hey, listen, they had this Back the Blue rally yesterday here on Long Island, and I back the Blue. I'm a retired policeman. You know, I love
was
cops.
gonna say it's kind of mandatory for you.
But the bottom line is, and this is what I say, you don't see me with a flag on my car or a flag in front of my house. I have a bigger view of this whole thing. The bottom line is the only people that could identify with Back in the Blue are the guys in blue.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what it's like to respond to an officer screaming for his life, yelling 1013, 1085 forthwith, screaming. I know what that's like. Been there, done that many hundreds of times, responding balls to the wall in a police car to locations. Those are the only guys who know how to back the blue. That's the bottom line. Everybody else, it's just for one day.
Or it's for virtue signaling.
Hits the fan, where are these people going to be? And I support the widows and orphans. I support all that stuff. You know, Families of the Shield. Those are the people that need to be supported. You know, through GoFundMe's, through their trusts and stuff like that. If you could donate money to them, I would suggest you do that. Those, because my brothers and sisters that lost their lives on the line of duty, their families deserve it. You know what I mean? And I know what it's like. I have that experience, but you know what I mean? And people may judge me for how I'm saying it. And I'm not saying that rallies are bad or anything like that. You want to go, but I choose it's not for me. Because I understand in the scheme of thing, when the shit is happening in a courtroom and you have your rights being violated, nobody's backing you up. The lawyer next to you is not backing you up. Even when you're nudging him and saying to him, say this, and he'll go, be quiet. They want you to be a ward of the court. They want you to be a baby in the court. They don't want you to have a voice. And that's what needs to happen. There needs to be a serious assertion and rebellion of Americans before judges in civil courts, family court, and Supreme Court, asserting their rights.
Yeah.
Before they hire an attorney if they need to in the long run. Because there are a lot of high conflict divorces and situations out there where kids are being kept from good parents. And don't get me wrong, I've taken many domestic violence reports. There is violence out there. People do, there is domestic violence, and those people, get held to the penal law on the criminal side. This civil side crap is crap.
There is no criminal code in family court.
No. If you're gonna do an order of protection, it should be criminal court only, and it should be to that standard.
I've been saying this forever, that the moment a criminal allegation is levied inside a civil court, the civil proceedings are paused until the criminal side is done, where due process can be substantive and procedural. And if it comes out that it was a false allegation, then there's a criminal penal code for that. And that side can be prosecuted for false allegation, or if the allegation is true, it can be processed that way, and then civil proceedings can resume. And what you do is you take away the incentive and you criminalize the allegation if it's false, and it solves a huge dilemma in these civil courts. But again, they'll never do that because it takes away the power of the judge.
But even in criminal court, that's a problem because of VAWA and the Violence Against Women Act.
Which has been not reauthorized, which funding was cut for, which is no longer an effective law in the federal level sense.
But they still act as if it is.
I'm sure there are states that codified it statewise, though.
Yeah, because the VAWA and the Violence Against Women Act is a clear violation of the 14th Amendment.
Oh, it's more than just the 14th, but yeah.
Well, primarily the 14th. There's no equal protection. You're giving one gender preference over another.
Now we say this, and now we hate women, Mike. We say this, and now we hate women.
Well, I don't hate women. It's not about that.
I know it makes no sense to me why it goes that way.
Right.
But
well, we already have penal law statutes in effect, but you want to know what? They don't want to use them the way that they're written. And they want to cut deals all the time. They want to plea bargain. They don't want to hold people to assault. You do an assault on somebody, you go to jail. Or you're on a chain gang, you're working for the community. Or how about this? How about you work for the victim? How about you go out, you work for the victim, and you do restitution to the victim that you hurt or harmed? Or how about if you kill somebody, you do restitution for the family that for the rest of your life? 80% of your income goes to the family. You get enough to feed your mouth. That's about it. You think that would work? We're not interested in doing
I
stuff
mean,
like that. It's too simple.
yeah. There's a million issues that we could go through, Mike, one by one, and have to sit down and really look at it. I mean, that's why they created this maze inside a box, inside of a puzzle, inside of an enigma, inside. I mean, it's once you open up this court conversation, it's one thing to just say, oh, it's unconstitutional, it's corrupt, it's a broken system. It's another once you start to dissect it. It's another once you start to break down how the players move and how the government operates to separate you, as you say, from your property, from your children. And
That's all it's about. That's all it's about.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've had a total mind shift. You know, I mean, I'm researching now this whole income tax thing. You want to get pissed off?
Yeah, go ahead and tell everybody about the income tax.
I'm not going to get into it because it's a liberty issue, and you want to know what? This guy I listened to, Dave Champion, says it best. He said, liberty is not sexy enough people to get involved with because it's based on data and facts. It's not emotional at all.
Your right to be a parent is described by the Supreme Court as a fundamental liberty interest. And no, that's how the Supreme Court says it, a fundamental liberty interest.
Yeah, and but they never stand up on that. They never stand by.
Think about those words, and in your mind, what you hear when you think fundamental liberty interest. It is of it's your life and your pursuits of happiness. This liberty interest of being a parent is fundamental to your pursuits of happiness and your life.
Right. And let's talk about protection and safety and security. Does it say anywhere in the Constitution that you're guaranteed that?
Let me look. It does say that we hold these rights.
That you're 100% guaranteed it.
Well, it comes off as yes, this right is guaranteed. Yes, that they didn't turn it into
to be protected by what?
Well, it's supposed to be due process through a jury of your peers.
I'm just talking life in general.
You own yourself. You're supposed to.
It's a risk every day you walk out the door. You get in a car. You live your life. There's no guarantee that you're going to be safe anywhere at any time. You'll have to take it upon yourself a lot of times to do these things. The court gives these order of protections out to protect people. It's bullshit. You can't protect somebody because if somebody is of a mind to do something, they're going to do it. You know, we have too much. We have decent people that are listening to these orders of protections that have been, in violation of their rights. And they're shit. The Judge Spinner, the cops, they can't protect you at all unless you have a cop living with you with a gun in the house. You can't be protected at any given time.
So wait. So is this accurate? So when seconds matter, police are just minutes away?
Let me tell you something. I live in Suffolk County, New York, the highest paid police in the country. They get over $150,000 a year. All right. The response time of their police cars to a location is about 5 minutes.
So what you're saying is you better be able to defend yourself for 10 minutes.
Right. In New York City, where precincts are much smaller and confined, and you have basically an army of 40,000 officers. My response time to any given radio run that I went on was less than 2 minutes. And even that's not great. When there's a crime in progress, somebody's being assaulted. By the time you get there, and if the purpose is still there, maybe you make an arrest. But the crime still occurred. You didn't prevent anything. Yeah,
this is the conundrum between the battle of fund the police or defund the police, and I think
the police are necessary for that regard. And there were many times that I did prevent it, but a lot of times it was because I was savvy enough. I recognized something, or I got information from somebody on the street, and I was able to intervene and stop something that might have happened.
So, Mike, since the last time we talked, one of the things I've seen a lot coming out of these defund the police movements is that they're attaching social workers to law enforcement units when they get called out. I'm kind of curious to hear what you would say if you had a social worker with you all day. What?
First.
I can't hear you.
I would send them in first. You go knock on the door.
Okay, send them in first.
And then we'll give you a radio. Let me know if you need me.
Yeah,
Send them in
yeah,
first.
right.
Listen, and that's not guaranteed. That's not going to work because they're going to use bogus administrative paperwork to get you to do stuff that says that we got to, like, let's do it like a CPS case. They want to remove a kid. One of the first things I ask is, can I see your paperwork? And in the paperwork, it's all administrative. There's no judge signature to a warrant. We got to take this kid. And I get to the door, I knock on the door, and I know there's people in there, but they don't answer the door.
Yeah. Well, Mike, I got somebody else backstage here as well, and I think we could just add him to the conversation if he wants. If you're cool with that, Chris, you doing with that?
Yeah, I got a few minutes. Sure.
Cool, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chris Cole, victims of family law in the house as well.
Mike G, how are you?
How are you, sir?
Good, man. So where in New York are you?
Suffolk County, New York.
Okay, cool. I know Cash is actually in the area as well, with some other activists. They were at the same was it called the Black and Blue function or whatever it was?
Yeah, I saw it yesterday.
Yeah, they were at that function as well. I know they're doing some work up there. I didn't know if maybe you wanted to get with them. I'm sure they'd love to have you for an interview, so you could talk about how you represented yourself.
I was with Cash Jackson at our first rally down there in Washington. I know Cash. I know Cash. He knows me. I reached out to him. I sent him a message that I'd be willing to talk, but I never heard anything back. And I know that I don't know if you heard the beginning of our conversation, but they're aligned with the group that I used to belong to called Americans for Legal Reform, and I've stepped away from that. And
Cash is no longer aligned with anyone but Cash. He actually started his own media network.
Well, I know that. Yeah, the VLM.
Yeah. We got that started, and he's starting to do more liberty-based, veteran-based, family law-based, where we're talking about constitutional violations.
Oh yeah, well that's easy to talk about. I mean,
it flows like wine around America, doesn't it?
Well, it's almost like you go through it, you become like an expert after years and years of that conversation.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I'm still an angry fuck.
We need angry fucks that know how to, like you said, we got to harness that anger and use that energy to, like you said, look up case law, fight it in the courtrooms. We understand the rallies are more, like you said, for show. It's to let people know, oh, people are doing. You can dispute family law.
I made a comment on the thing. Now, I don't know if you heard. I'm a retired policeman.
Yes. And
I black the blue everywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't have to be at a rally to do that.
Right.
Been there, done that. I was working on the second platoon during 9/11. I know what it's all about.
Yeah.
The bottom line is that these things are more about emotion and political affiliation than they ever are about liberty.
Exactly.
And I have a problem with that. That's why I don't go.
Now, with that being said, real quick, Chris, sorry to interrupt you there, but with that being said, I do believe there are people and individuals and even some groups out there that are not about the political connections of things, that are truly organic, grassroots issues. And I think Cash has always stuck to that premise of being available to everybody. So
you know what the problem is, CJ and Chris? We attract people like ourselves to this movement that are in this fight. Really, where change will occur is when the unaffected understand where we're coming from, and average Americans understand that. For me, in my life right now, who I worry about? I have a daughter and two sons. Particularly my two sons, I worry about their future and what they're going to confront by these tyrannical courts when daddy's not around.
Right.
And we have to teach them about, number one, you got to teach them about, I got one too, the Constitution. They have to know, they have to know what their God-given rights are. They have to know, to the simplest extent, even how to fight a traffic ticket. I got threat with 5 times by a judge a few months ago for challenging a red light ticket in a camera. I was the last person to go, and he threatened to put me in jail 5 times. He raised his gavel up over his head. I thought he was going to let it go and hit me in the head.
That's what
you know what I mean.
That's what children do when they can't argue, is they throw a tantrum.
You know, and I wound up just paying it because it's not worth the fight. It wasn't worth my time. But the bottom line is,
I found, just like you said, in a courtroom, you get bullied, and they use their authority as intimidation to violate your rights and get you to do and say things that are against the law.
Yeah. When I start talking about, hey, listen, I'd rather be responding to a violent gun run than to be in this fucking courtroom right now.
Right. I'd rather be in the park with my kids playing frisbee than sitting here arguing with you about why I want to be at a park playing frisbee with my kids. It's redundant, it's rhetorical, and it's absolutely a racketeering process. So, I mean, honestly, you guys, I think, Chris, you know where I feel, and Mike, you know how I feel. Family law, once you're sucked into it, once you've been through it, no matter how much you can even ignore it, the conversation is going to come up. The issue is going to get brought up. The feelings that you've gone through as a result of this, the life that you live after the fact, is something that will always affect you for the rest of your life. You'll have these instances like you, Mike, where a judge that violated your constitutional rights is now going through the process, and you have to figure out how to cope with that aspect of, now your abuser is being abused. What do you do? And Chris, I mean, you're going through that process where you're being abused, and you're trying to seek out the public support, the political support. You're trying to tie all these together with your activism. And to me, it's always been the same thing. It's years and years of people trying to raise awareness to a system that does not care if they are caught red-handed doing all this. Because in their mind, they have the immunity, they have the class separation, that they have the approval from government through codified law to do this. So they don't view us as parents that care. They view us as already expended product, and they're on to the next.
Right.
I mean, it sucks. I mean, like, Mike, you would think that
wait a minute. There's good people there to help us. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but even if there was, they get silenced too. Aren't there good lawyers
out there? Aren't they good? Come on.
I mean, Mike,
you can't be like, there's got to be good lawyers out there, right?
I feel like Mercedes wants to answer this question, so I'm gonna bring on Mercedes as well, because she looks like she's having.
Yeah. Oh, she's a girl.
I am a girl. I am a girl. I do girl things.
Mercedes, you look like you're having a panic attack there listening to Mike and Chris and I. What's going on?
The rest of us are all wearing black and sitting in the darkness, and she's dressed as a Skittle.
With rainbow
with the rainbow flag.
My drink matches your shirt.
Thank you. So this one time, I was a child. Actually, that is a story too. So this one time, my mom had me as a teenager and didn't marry my dad. Thank you, CJ. I hate that you do this. And so my mom had me when she was 16. And because of that, like, I talked about this on a different thing. It was a women's equality. I still fuck up the name. But she had a choice. And if she wanted to keep me or not, she had 3 choices: adoption, abortion, or keep me. And so she had that choice. But then afterwards, the state stepped in, and she had to have a paternity test to see who my dad was, and they forced him to have child support. And then the state just took over. I was on state Medicaid. My dad was forced to pay child support. He's only been to jail once in his entire life, and it's because he didn't pay child support. He was paying, but my mom wanted it or whatever. So my mom used the courts to put him in jail.
Yep.
My mom knows how the law works to her advantage. She knows all of the loopholes, and she learned because she was a young mother and used the system to survive and get us out of where we are at. So, as an adult now, she had saved all of the court documents that she had gone through with my dad so that I could read them when I was an adult. I was like 16 or 17 when I got them. And it was a stack like this. And I saw how hard he fought for me. I saw what he did and what he went through and what happened to him, and every little thing that the system is set up to make it so that men don't get their children and so that women don't have anybody but daddy government to help them. And it's because of that. They used this with the drug war to denuclearize the black family, and it worked so well that they're applying it across the board. Because if the state controls children like me, puts them on Medicaid and gives them free education, and then doesn't teach them, like I was lucky because of the upbringing I had, the education I had. I'm a product of the system. I know how the system works because I had to learn how the system worked to survive. So my mom just got her law degree. She turns 47 this month. She got that law degree because she was working in the jails as a criminal justice or a corrections officer. She owned a nail salon while we were growing up because she knew she needed to be a business owner to have any power. She was a single woman with 4 kids who had to use an abused women's shelter to escape my dad because legally he owned her. Legally he owned us. Legally, she was in a domestic assault situation where the law helped her abuser keep control of her because she remarried my stepdad. So she's using the law against my dad because my stepdad is on meth and needs money and wants that money, and they're using the system against my dad, who's Mexican, mind you, from Mexico, came here in the 80s, is forgiven by Reagan to be here, okay? They're using the system against my dad. So not only do we have a family law court system, we have a racist issue too. Because I learned all the good white supremacist racism stuff from my stepdad and his family. I was whitewashed. I was led to believe that all of the things that they teach you growing up in an all-white family.
I have a question for you.
Yes, Michael.
Is Chris, CJ, and I, are we white supremacists?
The fuck no.
I'm not tall enough.
You have too much hair. You have too much hair.
That's a buzzword for every white man in America.
Oh, I know. That's a very triggering word. It's because they want it to be. If they make us fight each other over our kids and our race and our money, then we're not going to go after the people who are putting us in this situation because they're using us. They're taking our kids, they're putting us in the system, and they're making it so that we stay in the duopoly because we think that the Democrats will save us. We did it in 2008. I was 18 in 2008. I caucused for Obama. I was raised a Democrat. I was raised non-traditional, I was not raised with organized religion, though. My grandma's a hippie. My grandpa's a product of non. He went to war a Republican, came back a Democrat. They're stuck in that system. I was raised to break cycles. I was raised to get out of the system.
Yeah. You know what the problem is in this country?
People aren't raised like me?
No. It's
We needed a narcissist on the cast.
I'm only a narcissist because I had to learn to adapt to my surroundings because
I get it. You're surviving.
I am surviving. We develop toxic skills in order to live in the environment we are bred in, and if we do not learn how to disengage from that environment, we will never be happy and healthy. Welcome to Mental Health Monday, CJ.
All right.
I was gonna say it's got to get in there somewhere. So,
I have been in therapy for 25 years because the court ordered my mom to put me in therapy when I was 5 because of everything going on in my life.
Well, Mercedes, think about the industry that they're creating through family law, pharmaceuticals, children who grow up in these typically single mother households. These young daughters especially will most likely have relationship issues, get pregnant early. They'll make bad decisions and then become dependent on the system as well. Young men who grow up without fathers typically
are incarcerated and used as slave labor.
Drugs, violent, so and then if you do figure out a way to not go to jail, well, then you have mental health issues. So they're either selling you drugs for PTSD, anxiety, depression, and that's if you haven't found heroin or meth, and you have drinking habits, or you're violent, you have this aggression as a male. We know all the statistics, and that's why, like CJ and I speak about it, and I'm sure Michael and Mercedes, you probably understand. Family law, the destruction of the family unit, is the root cause for many of the systemic issues that we have. And instead of saying, well, let's have a awareness campaign, or let's donate money to get opioids off the streets, how does donating money to get people off opioids going to help? Why don't you just stop destroying families?
Yeah.
There's a root to this whole thing. And when kids are growing up dependent on government, moms are struggling, dads are struggling, and you basically are creating socialism, which is bleeding into more of a communist thing. So destroy the family unit, and then we can control you.
Yeah, and then you take away your elders that could back up, help people. You destroy that ancestral support system. The only reason why I am able to be where I'm at right now is because my grandparents were upper middle class and able to step in and let my mom finish school. My friends don't have what I have, and we grew up the same way.
Think about how many alienated kids, and my kids are going through right now, really are separated. They're isolated from not only the father or the mother, whoever's alienated, but that whole family.
It affects every single person, and it generally is because we don't have this mental health support necessary to communicate through our issues. And so instead of fixing them, we just drink and fight about it, like you said.
Right.
I like to fight. I'm very, very, very angry all the time. I like to fight. It's my favorite
Mercedes,
pastime.
these are all things that if you said while going through an active court case would be used against you to keep your children from you.
I like to fight. I'm angry.
And that is why I continue with my mental health support, because I have the documents necessary.
No, and now that you've admitted that you're going to counseling, you're not mentally fit enough to be a parent.
But those people.
And that's why I'm running for office, so that I can change the system, so that normal people aren't criminalized by the state, so that somebody else can profit off of us because they think we are inadequately equipped to be adults in this world.
Michael, what were you saying?
Yes, sir.
I'm just angry. I got lost in my rage.
I blacked out.
All right.
I wanted to talk about. The biggest problem in our system and in our government is attorneys. In every aspect, all three branches of government, in courts, it's all about lawyers. All about lawyers.
Isn't 1/3 of our government attorneys?
Yeah, they're all attorneys. And not only that, now the lawyers work hand in hand with the court-appointed psychologists and psychiatrists. And, I had one assigned to me for my kids, and I went to go see this guy right away. I figured I'm doing the right thing. This guy named Neil Grossman. And immediately after I'm done with him, I forgot my checkbook at home. I got to give him a retainer, $1,000 retainer.
Of course.
And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And then you find out that he's on the list in the courts. And they all act in one way, and that's the best interest of the state. I don't care what anybody says. It's never about the litigants. It's about the best interest of the state.
Right.
Wherever they could pilfer you, and until men and women get the courage to stand up for their rights and tell the court to their face, no, I'm not doing this.
Right.
No,
I
I'm
agree.
not doing this anymore. Hey, you want me to go to this guy? No, show proper cause that I have to go to him. Just because I'm normally angry at the process, and I'm angry at you for keeping me from my kids, you're gonna label me some kind of somebody who needs to see a shrink.
Well, let's abuse them and then use their anger from our abuse on them.
This is what this guy Neil Grossman did to me.
It's called gaslighting.
I had every weekend with my kids, every weekend, Sunday to Monday, and a part of the weekend. This guy was going to reduce my stipulated time that I had legally through Supreme Court down to a half hour a week. And I look at him and I says, I looked at him straight out. I looked at him really hard, and I said, "You're a professional, and this is the best you can do?"
Wow.
And he stepped back in his chair, and he basically says, "You got to leave now, Mr. Gilligan." You know what I mean? Because his head should have been rolling down the street.
Right. We should have went 1776 on his ass.
I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, as founding members.
As the founding members of the Guillotine Caucus.
And as someone who has benefited from mental health professionals, it wasn't easy to get to where I'm at in that, though, because we have faith-based mental health here, and that's not even supposed to be a thing. I found out. We have.
CJ.
There's a lot of mental health professionals that are abusing their power.
All right, I'm just gonna get out of here.
That's what I mean is we have this faith-based mental health here in rural America because the churches are stepping into mental health and they're literally telling victims to go back to their abusers. Maybe they'll be fine. And that's what I mean is I am active. I mean, I've always been an activist for mental health, but like I try to help people find people that are actually here to help because even in the field, we have bad actors who do get paid by the government to just kind of help you because if they heal you, they don't make money.
Right.
It's all about money.
If the government was doing a job that was actually in the best interest of its citizens, then government would be a lot smaller, but broken people are a lot easier to sell product to.
Aren't they? Unhappy people
we need
like
to adjourn this matter right now. We need to adjourn this matter to another time.
Matter adjourned.
We want to increase the hours in the next proceeding. It's just typical. But we have to adjourn this. You know, I mean, I got to go take a shit. You know?
Gotta go
make sure we rack up them billable hours for sure.
Safety meeting.
Oh,
right?
man.
All right, you guys. Well, we could do this all day long, I'm sure. But I want to give you all each a chance to say your final words. So we'll start with Mike, work our way back. And I got to get over to Adam versus the man for my first day back. So, Mike, you got the floor. Anything you want to say, sir?
Oh, it's about what we initially talked about. You know, very grateful to Americans for Legal Reform, the group I belong to that supported me during my time of need when I needed it in court. But when it comes to what's happened recently, I have to step aside, and I can't support the group when they're going to have this former tyrant speak tomorrow night for Americans for Legal Reform, and you know, who basically you know, tried to ruin me and take me away from my kids, and who was unsuccessful in doing it. Just can't do it. And for anybody going to that meeting tomorrow night, if you're listening, ask him some really hard questions. Ask him some really, really hard questions. And you feel free to use my name, you know, if you saw this video. But, you know, that's it. Thank you very much, CJ, for the opportunity. You gave me a platform to vent myself. Hey, I feel better now.
Good. Mike, you know you're always welcome, sir.
I'm going to go get some
really
ice cream.
Nice today.
All right, Mike. We'll see you next time. All right, Mr. Cole, you are up. What do you got to say to the world?
Victims of family law. Like CJ, you mentioned, I was able to speak with Spike Cohen this weekend. I brought my kids. I put out that video. It's about a 6-minute video of a question and a response. Spike, I'm very grateful to Spike Cohen for sort of adopting this issue and understanding it to the level of its value. And Spike is on the front of Victims of Family Law, and those are the main bullet points that we discussed once our interview was done, which would fix about 99% of the family law issues, which is really just if you put due process back in and you take away the incentives, and then you cover the rest of the ground with being able to record your own proceedings, then we can have accountability in these courtrooms. And it's not such a bully situation. I don't know why. CJ, you got to help me with the StreamYard thing. Apparently you just need to always be hooked up to the internet. It doesn't stream live well when you're not hooked up. But Victims of Family Law, go check out the page. There's also a group for Victims of Family Law, and you can reach out to me at Chris Cole anywhere. Just type Chris Cole. I'll be there somewhere. So thank you, CJ, and we'll talk soon, actually.
Sounds good, Mr. Cole. We will see you next time, sir. Thanks for joining us this morning. And last but not least, Mercedes, you got the floor. Let everybody know where they can find you and what's going to tell you. Last thoughts.
Hello, you can find me at votemercedes.com. There I am. We have, I believe, 28 days. Oh my goodness, we have 28 days, 14 hours, and 29 minutes for you to go, and the word says Comedy Central, vote for your life. Like when Comedy Central starts to get political, you know it's important. So remember, we are all here to fight for equality and justice for everyone so that we can have the good life for all, y'all.
Mercedes, always a pleasure to have you on. Happy Mental Health Monday. We'll see you on Adam versus the Man at some point, I'm sure, backstage. So,
probably.
All right, we'll see you later, Mercedes. Thanks for joining. All right, you guys, as Mercedes said, we are 28 days, 14 hours, 29 minutes, 14 seconds away from the most important election in the history of elections. And I hope that somewhere in this conversation today, either through Chris, Mercedes, or Mike, that you guys were able to find something insightful. Find something that'll get you through your day for tomorrow. Coffee and a Conversation is back. We got 28 days, 14 hours, 28 minutes, and 53 seconds left until I no longer have to do the coffee in the morning. I can go back to internet warlording and say a lot more things that I wish I could say a little more politically incorrect. But with that being said, real quick promo shout out to Jim Freedom here, joining without knowing he's joining. Tell everybody where we can catch you here in the next half hour, sir.
What's going on, man?
Welcome to Coffee and a Conversation unexpectedly, but you joined backstage, and so you know what that means.
I gotta come on, I guess.
You gotta
brush
come
my
on.
hair yet.
Hey, you look good, Jim. So Adam versus the Man, you ready for a good episode today?
I'm ready for an awesome episode with the professional executive producer CJ back at the helm.
Ready to go.
We're excited about that.
So we'll see you in about 5 minutes or so. Let me get everything hooked up.
For your viewers, just so they know who we got today, we got who was it? Who do we got today?
Your guess is as good as
Lynn
mine.
Ulbrich.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good story. Everybody knows Ross Ulbrich, the creator of the website that's sitting in prison right now.
Well, we'll definitely get a good take on that one. Looking forward to being back at the gym. But that's what happens when you join Coffee and a Conversation backstage, Jim. You never know when you're going to show up. So
maybe I'll join more and have something prepared to say.
Yeah, and pitch the show that we're about to do in a half hour. Yeah.
Right.
All right, Jim. Thanks for joining me, brother. We'll see you in a little bit there. All right. With that being said, you guys have a good day, or don't. The choice is always yours.